Before becoming the best shooter in NBA history, Stephen Curry was just a skinny kid from Charlotte who struggled to get a college scholarship. Nobody ever believed he could make it to the NBA, but he kept working until he shocked the world. These are 10 insane stories that make Stephen Curry the legend. Before 2008, Stephen Curry was far from a household name. Sure, if you followed college basketball religiously, you knew that in 2007 Steph broke the freshman record for three-pointers, and that he was the second leading scorer among all freshmen, behind only Kevin Durant. But, because he played for Davidson, a less popular school, and lost in the first game of March Madness, Curry didn't get any time to shine. However, in the 2008 season, Steph more than made up for it. He averaged 25.5 points, and led the conference in scoring, securing Davidson another bid to the NCAA tournament. Still nothing changed. Everybody figured the Wildcats would be run over by the 7-seed Gonzaga. But Curry had other plans. He went off for 30 points in the second half, and 40 points overall, going 8 for 10 from 3. And Davidson won their first March Madness game since 1969. At first, it was supposed to be just another good story of an underdog that defeats the favorite for one game, which happens every year, until Steph did it again. After scoring just 5 points in the first half against 8th-seeded Georgetown, Curry exploded for 25 points in the second half, erasing a 17-point deficit and sending the Wildcats to another victory. In the Sweet 16, Steph put up 33 points and demolished Wisconsin. And then their Cinderella story was finally over. Against Kansas in the Elite Eight, the Wildcats may have lost that day, but it was a win for Curry, because everybody learned that Del Curry's kid was a bad boy, who might be even a better shooter than his pops. During his infamous 4-game run in the 2008 March Madness, Curry averaged 32 points, 3.5 assists, and 3.2 steals, while shooting 44 from 3. He also broke the record for most three-pointers in an NCAA season, which still stands today. During the 2013 NBA season, Steph was viewed as no more than just Del Curry's son. Stephen was a fun little guard from a team that always had fun little guards, and nobody could predict his future success. But on February 28th of 2013, Curry gave the world a glimpse at the future of basketball. The Warriors came to Madison Square Garden to play against a very good Knicks team. Steph was playing his best NBA season up to date, but it wasn't particularly breathtaking. He scored over 30 points in just 6 games prior to the game against the Knicks, and he only had one 40-point game in his career, which happened in his rookie season. And after he scored just 4 points in the first quarter, the New York crowd figured that nothing special was going to happen. But then Curry went on a tear. 30-footers after spinning away from double teams, pull-up threes in transition from the logo, and high-arcing floaters in the lane. Steph was making everything. He made 11 threes in that game, out of only 13 attempts, and 18 out of 28 shots overall. It was one of the best performances the Garden had ever seen, and they have seen some legendary performances. With his 54-point eruption, Steph's transformation into a superstar had begun, and it was just the first teaser trailer to his legendary shooting dominance over the NBA. Before March 31st, 2015, Chris Paul was almost unanimously considered the best point guard in the NBA. Then Steph Curry came and dethroned CP3 to become the new king of NBA point guards. But this point guard rivalry didn't start there. In 2014, the Clippers defeated the Warriors in the first round of the playoffs. And every time these two teams met, there was bad blood, a lot of arguing and hard fouls. That year, Steph made All-NBA second team, and Chris Paul was on the first team. Then in 2015, the tables turned. The Warriors had the best record in the NBA, and Curry was the frontrunner for MVP. In early March, playing against the Clippers, Steph made one of the most famous threes of his career. But the best part was, it happened against Chris Paul, dribbling the ball in traffic through multiple defenders. Then, stepping outside for a three, Curry hit an impossible three over CP3, with Steve Kerr grabbing his head in disbelief. At that moment, we knew that Curry was the best shooter in basketball, and the hottest thing in the NBA. But Curry wouldn't stop there. And 3 weeks later, Steph would one-up himself. Against CP3 again, Steph dribbled the ball on the baseline, guarded by Chris Paul. He then dribbled behind the back, faked to drive to the rim, only to bring it behind the back once more, and dropped Chris Paul to the floor, while Curry made the baseline jumper. Nobody ever crossed over Chris Paul like that, and the picture of him lying on the floor with Curry splashing a jumper became symbolic, representing what was to come in the future. In 2015, Steph led the Warriors to a 67-win season and won his first MVP title. But even so, nobody believed they would make the finals, let alone win the title. Charles Barkley's mantra, that jump shots are like pretty girls, and the jump shooting can't win a championship, was repeated by everybody. The Warriors weren't viewed as a serious team, despite having the best season in franchise history. However, Steph's shooting and pace were miles ahead of everybody in the NBA, and in the 2015 playoffs, he averaged 28.3 points per game in 21 games, making nearly 5 threes per game. Before the season, the Warriors had the 8th best odds to win the title, and them winning it was one of the biggest NBA surprises of the century. We were shocked too, but also kind of disappointed. Why? Because in 2015, Steph Curry didn't get a single vote for Finals MVP. That's a damn shame. Yes, Andre Iguodala changed the series, and was instrumental in slowing down King James, and it's not undeserving that he won Finals MVP. LeBron was playing like a Space Jam character, completely dominating the Warriors, and he became the first player to get a vote on a losing team since Jerry West in 1969. Iggy and Bron somewhat overshadowed a spectacular series for Steph, who led Golden State in scoring with 26 points per game on excellent efficiency. He averaged 10 more points per game than Iggy, along with leading the Warriors and assists with 6.3 dimes per game and 1.8 steals. Steph was the focal point of Golden State's offensive philosophy, their best and most important player, and he could have easily been the Finals MVP. Most iconic NBA shots happen in the playoffs, and we all remember MJ's final shot over Byron Russell, Kawhi's 4-point series winner against the Sixers, or Kyrie's dagger 3 in the 2016 finals against the Warriors. However, there are games and shots in the regular season that define a player and stand out more than the rest. For Steph Curry, that game happened in 2016 against OKC in an absolute thriller of a basketball game. Steph brought the Warriors back to life after trailing by 9 with 2 minutes to go. After 48 minutes, the game was tied at 103, with Iguodala forcing overtime in the final seconds. And if the game was mad, the OT was even crazier, with 33 overall points scored in 5 minutes. It seemed like the Thunder were going to get away with a victory. After leading by 3 points with 30 seconds to go, Westbrook had 25, KD scored 37, but Steph was from another planet, and he outplayed them all, finishing with 46 points. With the game side and 3 seconds remaining, Curry attempted a Hail Mary from nearly 40 feet away, and what was fascinating about this was that nobody in the NBA would even attempt such a shot. Most people would dribble a few steps forward and then shoot, but not Curry with his unlimited range. Of course, Steph splashed that insane 35-foot shot, and that was also his 12th three of the game, which tied the NBA game record for three-pointers made in a single game. Sometimes, MVP races are extremely close, like the 2022 race between Jokic, Embiid, and Giannis. Other times one player hits it out of the park so hard that the rest of the field can just stand and watch. Shaq was just one vote shy of being the unanimous MVP in 2000. Garnett was 3 first-place votes away from winning it unanimously in 2004, and only one voter believed LeBron wasn't the MVP in 2013. But then in 2016, it finally happened, and the NBA got its first unanimous Most Valuable Player. Steph Curry ran circles around everybody else, winning his second MVP, and doing it in a way nobody else had ever done before. Before 2016, Steph led the league in three-pointers made in 3 consecutive seasons. In 2013, he broke Ray Allen's single-season record with 272 made three-pointers, and in 2015 Steph improved the record to 286. And then in 2016 he shattered the record completely with 402 made three-pointers, making over 5 threes per game, a 45 accuracy. He also shot over 50 from the field and over 90 from the free throw line, becoming just the 8th player in NBA history with a 50-40-90 shooting season, because Steph also led the league in scoring 30 points per game. The 2016 season is widely considered the best shooting season in the history of the NBA. Curry completely altered the perception of what was possible and how dangerous the three-point shot can be. He deservedly won every vote for MVP and changed basketball forever. After he nailed 402 threes in 2016, Curry's hot streak surprisingly ended early on. In the 2017 season, Steph went ice cold against the Lakers, shooting 0 for 10 for 3, which ended his NBA record streak of 157 consecutive games with a made three-pointer. But to say that he bounced back the next game would be an understatement. Just 3 days later, after going 0 for 10, Steph erupted for 46 points, including 13 out of 17 from beyond the arc. The last 3 he made broke a 15-year-old record of 12 three-pointers made, which was set by Kobe Bryant in 2002, and later tied by Danielle Marshall and Steph himself. Curry was happy, but he was realistic about the record, saying it would probably get broken soon. His splash brother Klay Thompson made 14 threes against the Bulls, with Steph Curry cheering for him to break his record. When we watched that, all we could say was, "Look at Curry, man. So inspirational." After 5 consecutive runs to the NBA Finals, Steph Curry and the Warriors crumble. Curry was limited to just 5 games in the 2020 season. KD was in Brooklyn, and Klay was out for the season. The Warriors plummeted and ended up with the worst record in the NBA. But in 2021, Curry came back healthy, and if you know anything about Steph, you knew that he would come back with a vengeance. Steph returned to the court visibly bulkier, and added muscle allowed him to absorb contact better than ever before. The best game of the 2021 season was on January 3rd against Portland, where Curry went wild for a career-high 62 points in just 36 minutes of playing time. He became only the 3rd NBA player to score over 30 points in both halves of the game. At the age of 33, Steph averaged 32 points per game and led the NBA in scoring, thus becoming the 2nd oldest player to lead the NBA in scoring, after MJ did it in 1998 at the age of 35, just when everyone wrote off the Warriors and started doubting him. Curry shocked the world again. In 2010, Ray Allen broke Reggie Miller's three-point record when Ray retired in 2014. His 29.73 career threes seemed like a record that would stand for decades, until just 3 years later, after Steph Curry burned the NBA with 402 threes in a season. It was no longer a question if Curry would break Ray Allen's record. It was only a question of when he would do it. Then it finally happened on December 14, 2021, in Madison Square Garden against the Knicks. In the first quarter, Curry nailed a step-back 3, which made history, as 3 number 29.74. On Christmas, Steph became the first player ever with 3,000 career three-pointers, and he's likely going to get over 4,000 in the upcoming years. We live in a three-point world now, and maybe there's a player somewhere that's going to break that record sometime in the future. But we'll tell you one thing, if that player exists somewhere, he's not yet playing in the NBA, because no active player is on a trajectory to break Curry's record. The Boston Celtics came to the 2022 Finals with the number 1 defense of the regular season, and the best defense in the playoffs. They limited Kevin Durant, who was arguably the best scorer in the world, to just 38 shooting from the field, and 33 for 3, sweeping KD and the Nets out of the playoffs. Then came Steph Curry, quote-unquote, the skinny, unathletic small guy. The Celtics had no answer for him. Curry cooked them any way he wanted to, either shooting from deep or penetrating to the rim. His Game 4 performance was the crown jewel of his career, where he scored 43 points and won the game basically by himself. If the Celtics won that game, they would also win the championship. But Curry shocked the world yet again, stole Game 4, and then closed out the series like a true G, pouring champagne for his 4th NBA title. Curry averaged 31 points in the finals on 63% through shooting, winning his first finals MVP. He finally shut up all the remaining doubters. Nobody can say anything to him now.